The point of this new video series was to use humor as a vehicle through which we review Big Ten football games played on the weekend prior to recording.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Team Rivalry Big Ten Week 12 Weekend Preview. I am your host, Cliff Richardson. Mackenzie Richardson, our commentator extraordinaire, is in the window below me. How are things going over there, Mac?
Oh, pretty good. A little cold. There's some sort of white substance that is falling from the sky. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
It's a lot of it, too.
Yes.
Could be nuclear fallout. You never know.
That sucks.
We are in... It does. Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
We are in Week 12. Thankfully, there has not been a nuclear war. But before we get into the games, I'd like to remind everyone where you can find us. TeamRivalry.com is the website. Mac, where can they find us on the socials?
You can find us on Twitter if you really hate yourself that much at RivalryB1G. That's a capital B, capital G, and a capital R way there at the beginning. You can also find us here on the Tube of You. That's YouTube for those of you who can't put words together correctly. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and ring that notification bell.
Bing. Ding, ding.
Wow, we both had a ring thing that we were doing. It was
a Rocky moment, that ding ding, the bell.
Well, I know.
Rocky 3, ding, ding.
No, I know, but we don't usually do the ding, and you had a joke and I had a joke, and we did the jokes together at the same time. Yeah.
Simpatico.
Yeah, we should probably communicate better. I feel like neither of our jokes were that funny because of it.
That's right. They didn't land at all.
No.
A big thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel already. We really do appreciate it. We've got a lot going. Well, I was going to say we got a lot going on. I'm trying to pump things up, but I really don't need to. We've got an average amount of things going on for a week 12. And I might even have a slide for it. You never know. We need a producer. We need somebody who can switch slides for us.
The show's going to suck, everybody. Just heads up.
We're in week 12. We have this week and the next week left of the regular season, and then it's off to championship week. But this week, we have something, we do have something particularly amazing. We have one game that is the 116th meeting of these two teams, Iowa and Minnesota. Wow. They have been playing for a long time. We got 3 trophy games this weekend. We've got a 116th meeting. We've got a 97th meeting. We've got an 87th meeting. Everybody is on the schedule today. Obviously, there is no time off right now. Before we get into all of those games, we're going to take a look at our picks from last week. And I think did we have a bad week last week? What happened?
Yeah, I believe we did. Oh, you got the scores in there. I completely forgot about that and had a heart attack there for a second. Woo! All right.
I actually prepared for this.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah, so as you can see, we have had 2 very horrible, no good, very, very bad weeks in a row. With starting off here with Rutgers and MSU. They obviously didn't start things off very well for us. I was off by 21 total points. You were actually only off by, 15? So much better showing for you than me. Wisconsin and Iowa sucked for me, but wow, did you call that one almost dead on? So really good job there. I actually had a pretty good call with Minnesota and Northwestern, which is kind of funny because I was kind of expecting Minnesota to not do so well on offense, considering what Northwestern did, what the weather did to Ohio State when they played Northwestern. So glad I incorporated that weather factor in there. You also had a good call with Northwestern and Minnesota coming in at just 11 points off. Purdue and Illinois totally dropped a bomb on us. 27 points off there. You were 27 points off with Purdue score alone.
Yeah, that's a big 39 points off total.
Yeah,
wow.
Goodness gracious. So that's definitely going to be your worst call. And also my worst call. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, because Illinois should have beaten Purdue.
They should have, yeah.
But what in the world is going on with Illinois? We had a Black Ops reporter, which I'm sad to say, found out today that they found him and Well, he's now working for the SEC. Maryland and Penn State is our next one. I thought you were 41 points off on Penn State there for a second. That was your call, was 41. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. So, between Michigan's offense not really getting things going, Ohio State's offense really getting things going, which I was not expecting. It wasn't a good week. And that's about it. So I came in at 121 points off with a 10.5 median score. And you were 107 points off with your average being about a touchdown variance. So nice job. Congratulations on winning the week.
I'm looking at the picks from week 10. We actually both did a lot better than we did in week 10 because you were 193 and this week you're 121. I was at 169 okay. This week 107. So
there you go.
We did better this week.
Yeah. The algorithm's doing well in bad weeks.
It's coming along. There's some more tweaks to be made, but I think it's going to work eventually.
Like the weather factor.
The weather factor.
Yes.
We tightened up the totals there. I think I'm only 230 off now.
Getting closer. Can you pull it out with 4 weeks left?
I doubt it.
All right. Well, I can't wait for that B-dubs.
Can't wait. Yeah. All right. All right. Checking in on this week's trivia question. Which Big Ten team has the most rivalry/trophy games?
Michigan.
No.
I
thought it was Michigan too, but it is not Michigan.
Wow. Okay. Hang on. Let me think for just a second. I'm not looking this up.
Too late.
What?
It's Minnesota.
I was going to say either Minnesota or Iowa. Okay.
Oh, Iowa would have been a good guess too.
Yeah.
So, but now this kind of depends on whether you consider the 5 bits of broken chair a real rivalry game or not. But do you know what their 5 trophies are? Do you want to take a guess at it?
I have no idea. You've got with Iowa, it's the old brass spittoon. Wisconsin, it is the
old brass spittoon though is not Minnesota.
It's not?
No, it's Iowa and Michigan State. I'm sorry, it's Indiana and Michigan State.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, I guess I got nothing then. Go ahead.
Well, a Little Brown Jug.
Yep.
You know that one. All right, Floyd of Rosedale.
Is that with Wisconsin?
That is with who are they playing this week? Because it's this week's game.
Oh,
Iowa. It's the Iowa game.
Oh, okay.
$5 bits of broken chair. That's with Nebraska. Yeah,
I think that's right. Yeah.
Governor's Victory Bell with Penn State and Paul Bunyan's axe.
Axe with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay. My bad.
So there you go.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Michigan's got. Oh, the game isn't a trophy game. That's why.
Oh, you know what? That wasn't on the list. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me pull up my trophy list.
Well, the game's not a trophy game.
It's not a trophy game, but I was looking at rivalry/trophy games, and it is actually not listed. Oh, no, it is. There it is. Michigan, Ohio State. So Michigan has four trophies.
And Minnesota's got 5.
Minnesota's got 5. So we've got Michigan, Penn State. I'm sorry, Michigan State, which is the Paul Bunyan Trophy. Michigan, Minnesota, the Little Brown Jug. Yep. Michigan, Northwestern, which was new last year, the George Jewett
Trophy. Yeah.
And then Michigan, Ohio State, the game. So that's 4. But Minnesota has the most at 5.
But Michigan, Ohio State's not a trophy game.
It's not a trophy game.
Oh, but you're also rivalry, yeah.
Well, it's an accepted rivalry game.
Yeah. Okay. Right. All right. Following. Sorry.
All right. All right. Are we ready to talk some football?
Yes. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it here.
I have thoughts and opinions.
Our first game, Indiana at Michigan State. This is, in fact, a trophy game. It is the old brass spittoon, which I think is probably the grossest trophy of them all, because it was, let me get my notes back over here. It was based on the Little Brown Jug, or it was influenced by the Little Brown Jug. It came out in 1950. MSU football had just come off of a 36-33 emotional victory over Notre Dame. And they wanted to have a trophy game for the Indiana game. And they actually came up with one of the players from the team, or no, I'm sorry, he wasn't a player from the team. He was on the student council there at Michigan State. And he spotted the spittoon at an antique store and thought it'd be perfect for the rivalry because inside the spittoon, they found a note that said the spittoon was in use during the 1800s at a trading post near East Lansing. And as the story goes, the residents of both Michigan and Indiana would pass by the trading post and use the spittoon while hunting and fishing in Michigan. And so they spent $25 and bought the spittoon. So congratulations, Michigan and Indiana. You have the grossest trophy of them all. But it's yours. You own it.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. This is the 69th meeting between these two teams. Michigan State leads the series 49-17-2, and Michigan State is favored this weekend by 10.5 points. Now, get this. Indiana is mathematically out of a bowl game. They can't do it. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough wins. Michigan State needs one more win to be bowl eligible, and their next game is against Penn State. Their chances are, I think we could both say, are far better against Indiana than they are against Penn State. The only Big Ten team Indiana has beaten is Illinois. I don't know what's going on there with Illinois. Could this be a trap game for the Spartans, or will the old brass spittoon save the day again?
The old brass spittoon saving the day?
Well, when they got the old brass spittoon, when they first did that, Michigan State won.
Oh, that's so gross. They actually used it. Like gross. They literally used it.
It was literally an in-use spittoon.
That's what you spit in.
Yes. You're chewing on your tobacco, and the tobacco gets all in there, and your mouth waters up, and you go, ding. That's where that ding comes from, spitting into a spittoon. And they said, hey, let's make it a trophy.
Why didn't they just spit on the ground?
That's grosser.
How?
Well, okay, so normally you'd be in a saloon or something, right?
Sure.
So you're in the saloon. If you spit on the floor, then people are walking in it. So they put the spittoon down, probably because people were spitting on the floor.
Oh, I see. So people back then were a bunch of Neanderthals who didn't know how to spit properly.
No, they knew how to spit properly. They just didn't know where to spit properly.
They didn't know where to spit properly. I'm trying to get my score predictor sheet out. All right. Well, if the old brass spittoon has any influence whatsoever over this game, then Michigan State will probably win it, unfortunately. Yeah, they need one more game. Their season's been a complete disaster. This is going to be a situation where they rally to try and get that last win that they need to get bowl eligible. Otherwise, the season's just going to be, I mean, forgettable to say the least. So there's no point in going into stats or anything like that. I mean, they'll get it. They should beat Indiana.
All right. The team rivalry top secret score predictor agrees with you. And this one's going to be pretty lopsided. I got Michigan State at 48 and Indiana 10. That's your writing down your score.
I just writing down my score.
I should wait for you to finish writing before I...
Yeah, well, I should probably have these things ready before we start. In any case,
what do you
no frills, no pageantry for this. This is what you get when you just barely get bowl eligibility after talking yourselves up for an entire offseason, saying, Tuck, come in, and little brother can't handle this, or actually little sister is what they call Michigan. So this is on you guys. This is your fault. You're going to win this game, but you're only going to win it 27-7. You'll get bowl eligible. Congratulations. Next.
Our next game is, another big one here. Northwestern at Purdue. This is not a rivalry game, but it is the 87th meeting between the two teams. Purdue leads the series 53-32 to 1.
To 1.
To 1. One tie. Purdue is favored in this game by 19.5 points. That doesn't sound good for Northwestern.
Bet the under.
So I just learned this week, by the way, that, we talk about you have to have 6 wins to be bowl eligible.
Yeah.
Bowl eligibility has to include 5 conference wins.
It does?
It does. So you can only have 1 FCS or 1 non-conference win included with your 6 wins. So right now, Purdue has 4 conference wins, which means they need to win out to get a bowl game, and potentially a spot in the conference championship. Northwestern doesn't appear to have any fight left in them at all, or do they? Can they spoil the spoiler makers' opportunities here?
Sure they can. They're not going to, but sure they can try.
They can try.
They can try. Yeah, I mean, weather is pretty much the only reason why they were able to hang in that game against Ohio State. The weather was, I believe, colder when they went up to Minnesota, and Minnesota trounced them 31-3. Although that's actually a low-scoring game for Minnesota's offense. But 21 points is a really low-scoring game for Ohio State's offense. So yeah, I mean, if the factors play in correctly, Northwestern could have a shot. I think Purdue is probably looking at the Big Ten championship still, thinking, okay, what if Illinois takes a loss? Which Illinois is probably going to take a loss. They play Michigan. And then what if Iowa takes a loss? Minnesota, I believe, doesn't have a shot mathematically at this point unless, no, they're all 4-3. So never mind. It's kind of a crapshoot. But that means Purdue is still looking at the Big Ten championship game. So they're going to be on their best behavior this game. They're not going to drop it. I think Purdue is going to win this game. I think, though, that Purdue's really got to tighten some things up on defense still, because they're still allowing 25 points a game. They're only scoring about 30. And that's really not going to be good. That's what concerns me as far as whether or not this could be a trap game. If the weather conditions are right, if the factors all play into it correctly, there's a chance that Purdue's season ends Saturday, as far as the Big Ten championship goes.
The team rivalry top secret score predictor has Purdue pulling this one out, 35 to Northwestern 16.
Wow, pretty close. I myself, and I'm going to throw in here, I've got some pageantry for you guys, because Purdue, you'll always have a place in my heart for what you guys did to the Buckeyes in 2018. That was fantastic. That was a great day. So give me the choo-chooers, 31-14.
Nice.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. Switch
Nice.
there. Excuse me. Sorry. Our next game is Wisconsin at Nebraska. This is also a trophy game. It is the Freedom Trophy. These teams first played, and this is fascinating to me because they have 16 total meetings, but they started in 1901.
Wow, they really don't like each other.
They played in 1901, and then they didn't play again for 64 years, and then they played 65 and 66. Then they waited another 7 years. They played in 73 and 74. And then finally, in 2011, Nebraska becomes part of the Big Ten, and they've been playing every year. The trophy exists because Barry Alvarez, coach at Wisconsin, was on the 1966 team. And then he became Wisconsin's head coach from 1990 to 2011, which is the year Nebraska joined the Big Ten. He then became the athletic director in 2012. And then apparently there were calls, for some reason, there were calls to make this a rivalry game. I really don't know why. They hardly ever played. I mean, by the time 2014 comes around and they established the trophy, I mean, they had, 6 games? So they invented a trophy. Barry Alvarez basically invented the trophy and called it the Freedom Trophy. So it's not a great story, but it is nevertheless a trophy game. Wisconsin leads the series 11-4, and Wisconsin is favored this weekend by 13 points. Wisconsin is in a similar situation as Purdue. They have 4 conference wins and need to win out to be bowl eligible. Nebraska is on a 4-game slide. what does Wisconsin need to do to keep Nebraska in check and keep that Freedom Trophy in Madison?
Keep Nebraska in check. I like that. Oh, wow. They're actually playing in Nebraska. That's crazy. Well, they're going to need to get a handle on the road environment. I understand Nebraska doesn't really have much that they're playing for right now, but aside from the Michigan game, they've been trying. So that's cool. They had a close game against Minnesota, not really against Illinois. They had a good game against Purdue. They lost, but they scored 37 points. It's just their defense didn't do anything. So they're also wildly inconsistent, holding teams to 14 and then 43 and then 26 and then 20 and then 34. So it's nothing really makes sense on defense right now. It just depends week to week what shows up for them. That bodes well for Wisconsin because last week they gave up 34 points to Michigan. So you would think Nebraska's defense is on a bit of a downward slide at this point. It's late in the season. Wisconsin's actually out of the Big Ten title championship at this point with their loss to Iowa last week.
Right.
But they are one game away from bowl eligibility. So with that being said, Wisconsin, despite the loss to Iowa, has been on a bit of an upward trajectory. They kind of do this where they totally blow it about midway through the season, lose several games. This year they've lost a lot more than usual. And then towards the end of the season, they kind of start to pull themselves together. It doesn't really make sense when you look at the Michigan State game and then the Iowa game. This game, though, they're going to get to bowl eligibility. They're going to do it behind what I hope to see is a consistent offense that scores probably 30 plus points on Nebraska's inconsistent defense. And then I think Wisconsin's defense will be able to keep Nebraska in check because I don't believe Nebraska is going to be playing Casey Thompson this week at quarterback. I think he either got injured or they benched him for some reason. I'm not sure.
Well,
yeah.
The top secret team rivalry score predictor this is another lopsided one. We got a lot of lopsided ones this weekend. I've got Wisconsin 39, Nebraska 10.
So the wife and I traveled to Milwaukee a couple of months ago, and we bought ourselves some cheese. And it was good cheese. So I'm going to take the cheese from Wisconsin, 35-14.
35-14.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Also, quick question for you.
Right.
You said Barry Alvarez was the coach from 90 to when?
2011.
Okay, where was Brett Bielema? Because I think Brett Bielema got fired, and then Barry Alvarez took over for like a season, and then they hired Paul Christ, if I'm not mistaken.
Brett Bielema was 2006 to 2011.
Okay, so Barry Alvarez coached a couple of games.
Yeah. Yeah, so it must be he came back. But yeah, he had a record of 124-80. Barry Alvarez did. He was a 59% winning percentage. Of course, Brett Bielema had a 75% win percentage. And they still fired him.
No.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. They didn't fire him. He went to Arkansas.
Oh, that's right. He just left.
He ditched right before the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
He should have stayed.
Yeah. Yep.
Dork.
All right. Dork.
No offense, just playing.
Our next game is Iowa at Minnesota, and this is the big one. This is the 116th meeting of these two teams. It is our oldest matchup of the weekend. I forgot to check and see if it is the oldest matchup of all time, but for right now, it's our oldest matchup of the weekend. It is the Floyd of Rosedale Trophy, and I'm just remembering I didn't look up why they call it Floyd of Rosedale, but I'll tell you what it is. The story goes that in 1934, Minnesota players were taking cheap shots, basically, at the Iowa halfback Ozzie Simmons. Now, Ozzie Simmons was one of the very few black players at the time, and they were roughing him. They were taking cheap shots. They were taking knees to his ribs. It went beyond tough guy football to just brute attacks on this guy.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was sounds like it was awful. The following year, Iowa fans were actually sending threatening letters to the Minnesota coach, Bernie Bierman. Iowa Governor Clyde Herring got involved by saying that fans would rush the field if the refs didn't do something about it this year. So we've always been complaining about refs.
Wow.
So now that the Iowa governor is involved, the Minnesota governor gets involved. Governor Floyd Olson, he wanted to calm everybody down. So he's like, he goes, no, I'm sure everybody's going to be on the up and up. We're going to play a good, clean game. And then he tries to lighten the mood by saying we should have a small, gentleman's bet. And he said, I'll bet you a Minnesota prize hog against an Iowa prize hog that Minnesota wins this game. And the Floyd of Rosedale trophy is, in fact, a hog. And so the game went off without incident, and the trophy, which was then named the Floyd of Rosedale, which is a bronze pig, was born. So that was actually kind of cool.
Wow.
I like that story. Well, I don't like that they beat up on the guy, but I like how it, they made something good out of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our trophy game for this week. That's one of our other trophy games for this weekend. Minnesota leads the whole series, 62-51-2. And Minnesota is favored this weekend by 3. So this game, since it is between Iowa and Minnesota, it should knock out one of the teams running for the West Division. As we said, we've got who's in the running here?
Purdue,
Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, and Purdue.
Yeah.
So this team will knock out one of them for sure. And actually, if Purdue loses to Northwestern and Illinois loses to Michigan, as we expect they should, Minnesota might end up winning the West after all. After all that's happened, it might be Minnesota anyway. But Iowa is no pushover, as we have learned. Both teams have won their last 3 games. This is it's going to be a tight matchup. Iowa and Minnesota are very tight in the stats. They're very tight in the wins. Which team has the edge?
In terms of winning this game, theoretically, it should be Minnesota because they've got the far better offense. But I want to just really quickly check out Iowa's scores for the last, let's just go back 5 games. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, let's go back 6 games actually. So against Michigan, Iowa scored 14 points. Against Illinois, they got 6. Ohio State, 10. Northwestern, 33. Okay, but it's Northwestern. Like, come on. Purdue, they scored 24. Purdue's not really all that great on defense either, but they only allowed 3 points to Purdue's high-flying offense. That's pretty good. They did a good job there. Oh my gosh, Wisconsin, they scored 24 points. And Wisconsin's not exactly a pushover on defense either. Not the greatest.
Yeah. But
something weird's happening in Iowa. They're actually figuring out how to play some offense. That's pretty sweet. They're finally scoring more points on offense than they are on defense. They're scoring more points than they're allowing now, which through like the first 5 or 6 games, that was not the case. They were allowing more points than they were scoring, which is crazy because they do in fact still have a shot at the Big Ten championship. Now, they're going to need Illinois to take a loss. They probably will. They're going to need Purdue to take a loss because I believe Purdue also beat Iowa, which I'll have to double check real quick. But if they lose to Minnesota here, nope, they beat Purdue. I'm sorry. They have the head-to-head against Purdue, but they'll need Illinois to take a loss, and then they need to beat Minnesota. If they lose to Minnesota, it's all moot. They're out. Same with Minnesota, although Minnesota needs Purdue to take a loss along with Illinois. Illinois will probably take a loss. Purdue is probably not going to take a loss. So we might not know until the literal last game of the season who's going to represent the West in the Big Ten championship game. Now, in this particular game, I think Minnesota is probably going to win it. I think Minnesota's got the edge on offense. I think that they started to refine themselves during the Northwestern game. I think that they're on a resurgence trajectory, and I understand so is Iowa, but Iowa's on the road here. That gives advantage to Minnesota. That's what I got.
The team rivalry top secret score predictor has this. It's a tight one. It's Minnesota 14, Iowa 10.
Ooh. I like that, but I honestly think Iowa's probably only going to score once. It's going to be a touchdown, but they're not going to get anything more than that. Gophers 14-7. That's going to be some classic Big Ten football right there too. That's going to be a great game.
That should be a great game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Our next game, and now we're getting into an area where these are ranked teams. We've got Penn State at Rutgers, but there's not a whole lot to talk about here. This is the 33rd meeting. Penn State leads the series 30-2. Penn State is favored by 19. Penn State is in a bid to stay relevant. They need one more conference win for a bowl game. Rutgers, if they win out, they have a 6-6 season. Barring Penn State doing anything stupid, they should win this game. What do you think?
Yeah, Penn State's going to win this game. They're looking for an at-large bid to a New Year's Six bowl. Excuse me. Is Michigan's win against Penn State better than Tennessee's win against Alabama right now? Because I think it is.
I don't know. They hold Michigan's non-conference games against them, so I don't know.
Well, no, I mean just literally just the Penn State matchup. Because the reason I say
depending on how far Alabama dropped, I guess, yeah.
Well, the reason I say that, though, is because Alabama's not really doing very well in terms of the eye test, right? Penn State, on the other hand, is coming off of a 30-0 shutout, a 45-14 blowout, and then a close game against Ohio State that they let slip in the last few minutes. They're scoring 34 on offense. They're allowing 19 on defense. They're only allowing 120 rush yards a game, which actually, now that I say that, feels like a little bit of a lot. But they're doing something that Penn State teams don't normally do under James Franklin. They're blowing out who they should be blowing out, despite having been blown out once and taken a close loss. They're bouncing back, which is huge for them. I don't really remember the last time they were able to do something like that. Now, Rutgers is not going to present much of a challenge for them. They're going to go to 9-2. They're going to be in even better position for a New Year's Six bowl game. I think that Penn State finishes the season very strong.
The team rivalry top secret score predictor has this one very lopsided. Penn State 41, Rutgers 6.
I'm really sorry. I was writing them before you were done talking, and then I forgot to do it a couple of times. So I'm going to go with roar 45-7 Penn State.
All right. Our next game, Illinois at number 3, Michigan. We have the 97th meeting of these two teams. Michigan leads the series 71-23. That's 3-1, folks, and 2 ties. The longest winning streak goes to Michigan with 16 games between 1967 and 1982, and Michigan is favored by 18. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we thought Illinois might be a threat to Michigan, but after losses to Purdue and Michigan State and falling out of the rankings, they're not looking so tough. Michigan also didn't have nearly the trouble with Nebraska as they did with Rutgers, so they're improving there. This looks to be maybe the calm before the storm before next week's game. Michigan absolutely has to win this game or the Big Ten championship is off the table along with the playoffs. On the other hand, Illinois needs to win or they're out of the running in the West. Who wants the game more?
Michigan does. Michigan absolutely does. They're not going to sacrifice an undefeated 10-0 for the first time since 2006, second time since the national championship in 97 on the table against Illinois. That's just not going to happen. Michigan's playing way too well right now. Illinois' best rusher, Cameron Brown. I can look at that real quick, but we're short on time. Chase Brown, he was playing really well. He was putting up some Corum-like numbers at one point. He got injured. He's doing a lot better, but he's still not quite 100%. So that's definitely going to impact them. That said, Tommy DeVito is a good quarterback. If Michigan can play against the pass pretty effectively, which they generally do, especially against Nebraska, they did. Michigan has a chance at winning another blowout here. The only thing that I could see that could be a potential problem for them, though, is are they looking ahead? Are they looking ahead? You cannot look ahead. You need to get the passing game going too if you're the Wolverines, but you more than anything cannot look ahead. Just make sure you get through this game, win it by 2 or 3 scores, call it a day, move on to Ohio State, but do not look ahead.
Top secret score predictor has Michigan 31, Illinois 7.
I like Illinois' offense just a tad more than that. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt with Tommy DeVito slinging it around like the boss that he is. But I'm still taking the Weasels 41-14.
Ooh, all right.
Go Weasels.
In our last game, which essentially is a copy and paste of the Michigan game, we have number 2, Ohio State at Maryland. 8th meeting, Ohio State leads the series. Can you believe this? 7-0. Let's see if they have a chance this weekend. OSU is favored by 40 points. Ohio State is in the same position as Michigan, like I said. Maryland has nothing to fight for except pride. If we go by the Ohio State has to win this game or everything's off the table, except Ohio State seems to be the beneficiary of the CFP's fudge factor, like 2016, when they missed the Big Ten championship and still got a playoff bid. Of course, they lost 31-0 to Clemson, so that was a bit of a good thing to happen there. Nevertheless, how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, well, I think Ohio State's going to win. They're probably, I think Maryland and Illinois are probably pretty similar in terms of competition. But Ohio State has a bit of an issue with having to go on the road, so I guess we'll have to check the weather. Have you checked the weather? I haven't checked the weather yet, so who knows? I mean, honestly, this game could be a crapshoot then.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think what you said about the Michigan game is kind of the same thing with this. It's the calm before the storm. If Ohio State doesn't look ahead, if Maryland doesn't pull some sort of a rabbit out of a hat, maybe this will most likely be a blowout. There is a little chance for Talia Tagovailoa to work some magic if he's actually the one playing. But other than that, Ohio State wins handily. Handily.
Get it right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a lopsided one here. Not unexpectedly. The top secret score predictor has Ohio State at 45, Maryland 7.
Wow. Giving a little bit more love to Maryland's offense on this side, but I've got the Bucks 45-17.
45-17. All right, we are almost out of time here, folks. Trying to keep this on one Zoom call, make it a one Zoom call show, and I think we're doing pretty well here. Apologize if we rushed through too many of that, but let's face it, there's not a lot to talk about in some of these games. Next week, there's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yes.
Thanks very much for hanging with us. Appreciate everybody for subscribing and watching this video to the end. Mac, take us out.
This is Team Rivalry.